What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, here today to review and talk about the two latest Mad Max films that were released in 4K. We got The Road Warrior and we got Beyond Thunderdome. So I'm going to be breaking both of these films down in depth, talking about the movies themselves, the transfer, the audio, the special features, the packaging, all that good stuff. I'll cut to an unboxing of the table for both of these, but I'll also be talking just a little bit about the first Mad Max movie because I watched that for the first time this week as well. And both of these movies were first-time watches also. And then, just kind of in comparison, I'll, of course, talk about Fury Road a little bit right here. I got this beautiful black and chrome steelbook. This is an awesome steelbook right here. So, but yeah, I did opt to get just the regular standalone slipcovers for this release. I didn't want to get the 4-pack because, for one, the packaging is horrible. I don't know if you guys have seen it, if anybody bought it, but God, it's horrible packaging. I wish they would have done like the universal treatment to like the envelopes and stuff at least. But the packaging for that one is just a 4K case, and the discs are stacked on top of each other. So it's just completely ridiculous packaging. I don't know what Warner Brothers was thinking with that one, but they definitely botched that release. So I didn't get that because I am probably going to get the Mad Max Kino at some point. I would have loved for them to have released the Mad Max, the first Mad Max movie, just with like a slipcover that matched this, but they didn't do that. Let's go ahead and get into, well, before we get into it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I would definitely appreciate that. And comment down below. What's your thoughts on the Mad Max franchise as a whole? What's your favorite Mad Max movie? What are your thoughts on these releases? If you bought them, if you haven't bought them and you want to, based on my recommendation, I will be leaving the link for purchase in the description below, so definitely check that out as well. And yeah, guys, like the video and all that good stuff, all the YouTube stuff, that all us YouTubers have to talk about. But before I get into talking about The Road Warrior, I do want to talk about my experience with the first Mad Max a little bit. So Mad Max, directed by George Miller, starring Mel Gibson, came out in 1979. I actually watched that movie on Amazon Prime. I rented it because you can't watch that movie for free. It's not available right now. So I rented it for $3.99. It's available to purchase for $5. I almost wish I would have done that, but I was cheap and tried to save a buck because I knew I would get it physically at some point. But I watched it on 4K on Amazon Prime. And guys, let me just tell you, but it looked incredible. The advances that streaming's making in 4K. I'm not saying it's matching the discs, but on 4K, Amazon Prime, Mad Max, the first one, looked stunning. So I just want to say that. Talking about the movie itself, I really didn't know much about this franchise going into it other than it's post-apocalyptic, Mel Gibson's in it. I just assumed that most of these movies were kind of like this. It's just all like extreme, but it definitely, this franchise goes in those places, extreme post-apocalyptic settings. But the first Mad Max is very grounded, feels like it's set in the real world. I mean, yes, there are aspects of it that don't feel of that time period, but there's motorcycle gangs and stuff like that. There's clearly a different like hierarchy set up with like the law and stuff like that. They're like within like the borders of this city. Mel Gibson's a police officer. They're trying to take down these motorcycle gangs that's kind of terrorizing the town. It's really just this grounded story. Mel Gibson's a cop. He's got a wife and child. And he's just trying to take down this motorcycle gang who's terrorizing everybody. I actually thought that the villain in that movie was super menacing. He kind of reminded me too of Jon Moxley from professional wrestling. I know he was in WWE and now he's in AEW, but just the look of him, just like the face and just his mannerisms, the way he acted, just reminded me of Jon Moxley from professional wrestling. But I thought he was a really good villain, just kind of unhinged, just kind of unpredictable. You didn't really know what he was going to do. And easily, to me, guys, of the first three, he might be my favorite of the villains in these movies. But this is a very grounded movie. Again, it's all the chase scenes and stuff, they're very raw. You can just tell they're all real, so I did appreciate it for that. But the movie itself was just okay. To be honest, I was expecting more post-apocalyptic stuff, and it felt just too too grounded in reality, I guess, from what I was expecting. It's still a good movie. Mel Gibson's good in it. Of course, by the end of the film, you had the big like arc for that character, his wife and child. If you haven't seen it, this is a spoiler alert. We do talk spoilers a little bit with these reviews, especially for older movies, but his wife and child get killed. That's kind of the catalyst that turns him into the the wasteland roaming road warrior Mad Max character. So that happens like in the last 15 minutes. And then he comes back to take out this gang. And I also like how the fact that he goes to take them out and he's not just super badass and just taking everybody out. They actually take him out first. They freaking shoot him in the leg. He gets his arm run over. But he's still able to overcome that and take them out. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then they play on that in the next ones because his legs kind of got this brace and stuff on it when he's walking. So Mad Max, it's good. It's not great. It's honestly not what I was expecting. It just plays as a good origin story for Mad Max. Interesting, this is where Mel Gibson got his start. So he was 23 when he made this movie. This is an Australian film, so it didn't really pop in America or anything. And it wasn't until the later Mad Max movies that he would kind of get noticed more in America. But just interesting, fun fact there, which kind of leads me into The Road Warrior. So I watched The Road Warrior, and this is what a lot of people would say is probably the best of these Mel Gibson films. And I'll go ahead and say it right now, guys, and this may be controversial, may not be, but none of these original three are anywhere close to the greatness of Fury Road. I'll just say that. You may have nostalgia for them that I don't, so you may disagree. And that's fine. We can all disagree here. But none of these movies are of the greatness of this one. And I actually think because this one exists, it kind of hurts the impact and the legacy of this one, because this one does a lot of the same things that this one does. You can tell this one took clear inspiration from this one, just in the way the action shot. You can tell George Miller was trying to do his best updated version of The Road Warrior with Fury Road. So, this one gets the credit for being first, though, and it does have some incredible chase sequences, action sequences. This one fully embraces the action, just the post-apocalyptic wasteland, like the guy, Humongous, I think is his name, the villain. He's got the ski mask on. He's like all deformed underneath. You can tell he kind of reminded me of Jason a little bit, but then he talks and he's like super intellectual. So this one's basically about, Mel Gibson's Mad Max character. He's roaming the wasteland after his family got taken out. He kind of stumbles upon this fuel depot with these people inside of it, and then gets kind of caught in the middle of this war for fuel, because in this universe, fuel there's a fuel shortage, which kind of led to the fall of society, energy shortage, all that stuff. And it's not like a nuclear post-apocalyptic story, but like the original, like Fallout or something like that. It's more like just the fuel shortage and stuff like that, and the fall of society. So Mel Gibson's trying to help these people overcome this gang that's moving in, led by Humongous. I like this one because it embraces post-apocalyptic. They all have like the post-apocalyptic costumes and garbs on. The vehicles look really cool, and it does have some incredible chase sequences. That last chase sequence in this movie, I watched the documentary to this one, was apparently, like, for a long time, for years, probably until this movie, honestly, was like the longest chase sequence ever shot on film, like road chase sequence. So that's really cool, and it's a stunning sequence in that movie. So yeah, some really good action in that one. I like the villain in the movie. He's not great. I still prefer the villain from the first one. I thought he was really menacing, really terrorizing. But the villain's good. Gibson's really good in the character. I feel like he really comes into his own as that Mad Max character in this one. Like I said, this has a more post-apocalyptic feel, so it kind of fully embraces what I think Mad Max truly is to a lot of people that watch these movies. I can imagine a lot of people watching the first one just being completely thrown off because it's completely different tone. But yeah, Fury Road kind of makes this one feel a little bit irrelevant at this point, just because it does everything this one does so much better, just so more elaborate visually, and just the way it looks and the way those sequences are pulled off. Like Fury Road's just one long chase sequence of awesome action and set piece moments. And this one really just has a couple throughout. A lot more character moments in this one, I would say, with him interacting with the people in the town, kind of doing that whole You know, the reluctant hero thing. He doesn't really want to be their hero. He just wants fuel and he wants to move on, but he's kind of drawn into this conflict and has to ultimately help them. Overall, of the three, I would say this is the strongest movie. I would give this movie, honestly, a 4 out of a 5. I think it's a really good movie. If this movie didn't exist, I could see this one getting like a 4.5 out of 5, but I think that Fury Road just kind of really diminishes this one. But as far as the transfer, guys, this is an excellent transfer. Like, it looks amazing. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Indiana Jones, just with how good it was. Just, you know, Mel Gibson's facial detail on that one. Just the way his face kind of glistens off the sun. It all looks so incredible. I just took some shots at the beginning of the film, and it looks incredible. Like, the colors are much more vibrant, like the sign that's behind him in the opening shot. You can just see those yellows just pop in there. It doesn't look that way in the Blu-ray. The colors are just much more muted. It just looks much duller outside in that post-apocalyptic wasteland, and this one just kind of really makes all those colors pop, like the sand, the orange of the sand. It just really looks great. It's a native 4K transfer. You know, the HDR pops. It all looks absolutely fantastic. You know, the oranges of the sky, because most of this movie is set outside, and I think for the better, because we'll talk about the other one here in a second. I think that one kind of failed with the 4K presentation, but it looks great, clean and crisp and clear. And just super vibrant and incredible. So I can't say enough good things about the transfer. Looks fantastic. Now, getting into the audio, a lot of people were giving me a heads up on this. I've seen a lot of people, you know, commenting on my Instagram, and I picked this up, sending me DMs and stuff like that. I've said this many times. I don't have the full audio set up, so I'm just listening to this on a soundbar. So you can take what I say with a grain of salt, but what has been reported, guys, by the Digital Bits, I actually put this one out, and I can link this article in the description below. So what they're saying is there's some sound issues here. The new Atmos doesn't include many of the past sound effects, and they're altering other sound effects as well. So if that's the case, I imagine some people is going to be very disappointed with this Dolby Atmos track if you're familiar with the original sound quality of the original Blu-ray release of the Road Warrior DVD, all the past releases. And the 5.1 and 2.0, all the issues that are present in these different tracks are with all of them. So you can't, it's almost like you can't escape it. So, and that's what's being reported by Digital Bits. There hasn't been an official review of the Road Warrior that I saw online anywhere. But that's what's being reported to me. So if you're a sound junkie, if you put all of your stock into, you know, buying these new 4K upgrades because of the sound, you may want to hold off on this till some other people that, you know, that do watch it in the sound, the Dolby Atmos mix, or put their reviews out and then see what they have to say about it. Because again, like, it's not like been officially confirmed. I don't think Warner Brothers has commented on it or anything, but apparently there are sound issues with this. But, you know, I didn't notice it. It all sounded good to me. But getting into the special features, guys, and I'll talk about the packaging real quick, but kind of while I talk about the special features. But this is great artwork. I love the Steelbook artwork as well, but there's just something about this artwork. I love how it's yellow on the side with the Mad Max, the Road Warrior. They both look so great together. And yeah, I love the artwork with Humongous on the back. My only issue is I just wish they would have done the first one and the Fury Road with it as well. So great packaging on this one. The disc, you know, the 4K disc is yellow. You know, the Blu-ray disc is included as well. You get a digital code. The Blu-ray disc is black. So it doesn't have any like cool artwork, but I do like the touch of the 4K disc being yellow. Special features with this one, it's actually pretty good, especially when you compare it to Beyond Thunderdome here in a second. You get the making of the Road Warrior. This is like a 48-minute long documentary with George Miller, Mel Gibson. Really great documentary. Really cool that, you know, a new studio 4K release has this new documentary and special feature to it. You also get a commentary by director George Miller and cinematographer Dean Simlar. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but I never know if I'm saying anybody's name right. But you get this commentary by the two of them that was present in the past Blu-rays and stuff like that, DVDs. So that's nothing new, but I'm glad they included it here. And then you get the introduction by Leonard Maltin, who talks about the movie and just its legacy, and just how like nobody in America knew what Mad Max was. And then when they did the Road Warrior, they promoted it in America as the Road Warrior. So nobody called it Mad Max 2 in America, which is actually pretty funny because I actually thought the same thing when I picked up the Road Warrior on Blu-ray from the Dollar Tree. I was like, why is this just called the Road Warriors? Like, is this the first one? And then a lot of people correct me, like, no, it's the second one. But because it was people in the US didn't know about the first one, they branded it as the Road Warrior, and everywhere else it's Mad Max 2, the Road Warrior. So that's actually a pretty cool fact. So yeah, Mad Max, the Road Warrior, it's a really great movie, great action movie, great post-apocalyptic film. Mel Gibson probably gives his best Mad Max performance in this one. The transfer's great, but with those audio issues, I don't know if I can fully recommend this at this point. Like I said, you're going to have to wait until somebody else reviews this to get their thoughts on the audio and see like just exactly what's missing and you know, if it's really that drastic of a difference with the audio quality. So yeah, wait for that. But let's get into Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. So this is, I don't have too much to say about this one. This is kind of like, and I heard this comparison before, but this is kind of like the Saturday morning cartoon version of Mad Max. You know, you got Mel Gibson returning, directed by George Miller. All these movies are directed by George Miller, which I like that it has that consistent, you know, directorial vision, the through line throughout. But Mel Gibson and Tina Turner, which now I finally get that that liar liar reference that Jim Carrey, why did I say Curry? Jim Carrey says in Liar Liar, where would Tina Turner be if she rolled over and said, hit me again, Ike, and put some stank on it? Rolling down the river, that's where she'd be. But no, but she's beyond Thunderdome. He like says that in the movie. So now I get that. I get why I didn't know Tina Turner was in this movie, which is pretty cool. She's a very weak villain though. She's not very good. Tina Turner's definitely a better performer and singer than an actress. But yeah, she's the villain of this movie. She's okay. She's not terrible. She's just very bland and not very energetic and entertaining in her villainous performance. But yeah, this is basically a story of like her trying to, she's like the leader of this town called, is it Bartertown, I think it is. She's a leader of this town. She's fighting to keep control and keep order in this town. You know, that's where the arena, the Thunderdome arena is, which plays into the very beginning of the film. Mel Gibson has to fight this big burly guy. What's it? Master Blaster something is the character's name. And then there's this little person that's kind of like his master. And then he defeats him, and then the little guy gets away, and then he's got to protect the little guy. And then he meets some like forest children. And it goes in some strange directions. It's kind of, there's moments of this movie though that kind of reminded me of Hook. You know, Steven Spielberg's Hook movie. Just when he meets the people and they're trying to make him believe he is somebody, like a savior of sorts, and he's not like really buying into that. So it kind of reminds you of Hook a little bit, just how they're kind of idolizing this Mad Max figure. And, you know, Mel Gibson's just not having any of it. But, of course, he ends up helping them because that's what Mad Max does, protecting this, the little person. Then there's another big altercation between Tina Turner's character and her people, and then Mel Gibson, which leads in another really incredible chase sequence. There's another great chase sequence in this movie. But this one does feel incredibly just neutered as a Mad Max movie. Like the other ones had this like grit and style to them. They're both rated R, the first one and the second one, despite the fact that those are both very different movies just aesthetically. They both have this like grit to them, accessible for a children's audience, I guess. For a child to watch. So I guess it's good in that respect. If you want to introduce your kids to Mad Max, this is definitely the best one to get them into first. You know, has kind of like that Lord of the Flies like storyline to it. He's helping these kids, you know, kind of overcome this evil leader of Bartertown. So trying to see if there's anything else I want to say. Like this, it's definitely just more outlandish than the previous ones. It does like this one more so than the other two. Even the Road Warrior just fully embraces that post-apocalyptic setting. Apparently there was, this is set like 15 years after Road Warrior, and there was some kind of nuclear war in between that time. So this one more so embraces like the full on post-apocalyptic setting. And you know, of course, there's still an energy shortage, gas shortage. Everybody's looking for energy. The machines aren't running right in the towns and stuff like that. But this is clearly where the video game Borderlands, which I used to be a huge fan of, but that first Borderlands game, also Fallout to an extent, but especially the first Borderlands game, a lot of that's just aesthetically and like the characters that are in Borderlands, and then this one you can just tell, like you can draw like exact like parallels and comparisons to the two of them. So I liked it for that, kind of like the origin, kind of like the inspiration for a lot of these video games that came out, which is a good thing. Like without this movie, I don't think you would have a Borderlands or maybe a Fallout. I can see why a lot of people would say this is the worst of the franchise, but I could also see why a lot of people would say the first one's the worst. Because it's really not like a Mad Max movie in the way that most people think of it. So beyond Thunderdome, it's fine. I enjoyed watching it. It's a fun movie. I give it like a 3. Like a 3 out of a 5. And I would give the first Mad Max a 3.5 for those of y'all keeping track. And the Fury Road, that's like a 4.5 to 5 out of 5. This is like a masterpiece film. But getting into the transfer is okay. The transfer is okay, to be honest. I didn't really notice. Nothing really stood out to me with this transfer until they got to like the outside sequences and the chase sequence at the end. You know, all that looks great. I think it just looks a lot better when they're outside and you can see kind of like the landscape and the skies and stuff like that. All that just really pops, and the facial detail just pops a lot more in that outside setting than it does when you're in like the Thunderdome arena. There's a lot of like fog, seeing like light coming through, and it just, none of it looks good. Like none of the faces look good. Just aesthetically, it looks very bland and very dull. So I didn't like any of those sequences set in Bartertown inside the Thunderdome. It just, you couldn't see a lot. Like it just didn't look good visually in those sequences. Everything was hard to make out, which was kind of weird. So the transfer of this one isn't great. It's the same, you know, native 4K transfer as the Road Warrior, but just for some reason this one didn't pop. And then when they got to the Lost Children's tribe and their little quarry area, all that looked very dull, very bland. So this one just, like I said, it's okay. It looks good when they get to the more outside sequences, but it just did pop for me like the Road Warrior did. And with that one, there's no known audio issues with that release. But again, I was just listening to it on soundbar. So the sound sounded really good to me. Overall, this one has a very 80s soundtrack to it. You know, every movie I feel like in the 80s, regardless of the genre, regardless if it fit the tone or not, they always just wanted to inject this like very 80s like soundtrack into all of their films. So yeah, this one does that as well. I don't know if Tina Turner has a track on that, but I imagine that she probably does. Getting into the features, guys. This is a sad excuse when you're comparing it to the Road Warrior. This doesn't have anything. This doesn't have an audio commentary. This doesn't have any documentary, which I don't even know if one exists for this movie. You know, no introduction. It's just no deleted scenes. This has nothing. Like absolutely no. It may have a trailer. It may have a trailer, but it's not advertised on the back. But nothing. Like absolutely nothing on this one. So that's definitely disappointing. The packaging though, I really love the slipcover. I love the greens in the back right there with Tina Turner standing behind Mel Gibson. I think that this one is probably my favorite of the two slipcovers. I don't know, they're pretty damn close. Good images on the back. I love the font right there as well. And just opening this one and looking at the disc inside, like again, you have the yellow disc. I love how they had the original like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome font on the Blu-ray disc itself. I think that's super cool. But yeah, guys, like the packaging is great. Both of these have great packaging, but no special features. The transfer isn't the best to me. The movie's not the best to me. Very middle of the road. It's really hard for me to recommend this one, if I'm being honest. And with the audio issues, it's hard for me to recommend this one. So I enjoy both these movies. I don't really regret buying them, but I don't regret buying a lot of stuff. I probably would have regretted if I bought that 4-pack with all of them, but yeah, I can't. It's really hard for me to recommend these. It really is. Like I said, wait for some more reviews on the audio for this one. And this one's just not a good release. I just don't think this one's a good release at all. No special features. The 4K transfer doesn't look great. The movie's not the best. So if you're a Beyond Thunderdome fanatic, you'll probably want it in your collection. But if you're not, I would honestly just settle on grabbing the Road Warrior. I would just grab the Road Warrior. But again, hard to recommend either one. So appreciate you guys watching though this longer review video. We covered a lot of ground here. We covered pretty much all the Mad Max movies. So appreciate you guys watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those bell notifications for all future videos. Comment down below what your thoughts are on these Mad Max movies and like the video, and we'll see you next time.